Imagine a company that owns Formula One teams, buys football clubs, runs some of the world's biggest extreme sports events, sends people to the edge of space, produces films, and operates its own media empire. And somehow, it still sells an energy drink. But the more you look at Red Bull, the more a strange question begins to emerge. What if the energy drink was never the company's main product? And by the end of this video, you'll understand why Red Bull may have never been just a beverage company. But this story begins far from Formula One, and even farther from space. The 1980s, Thailand. An Austrian marketer named Dietrich Mateschitz is on a business trip. After a long flight, he discovers a local drink called Krottingdang and notices something unusual. His fatigue fades away. The jet lag feels much weaker. The drink actually works. But there was one catch. This wasn't the Red Bull we know today. The drink came in small glass bottles. It wasn't carbonated, and it was originally designed for truck drivers and manual workers who needed help staying awake. Most people would have taken a sip and forgotten about it. But Mateschitz saw something different. He didn't see a finished business. He saw a raw product that could be reinvented for an entirely new market. And that idea would eventually change an entire industry. Most entrepreneurs try to beat their competitors. Mateschitz chose something even riskier. He created a market that didn't exist. In the late 1980s, energy drinks were barely a category. People drank coffee, tea, soda. No one understood why they should pay more for a small can of a strange new drink. For the European launch, the formula was changed. Carbonation was added. The packaging was redesigned, and the product was completely repositioned. When Red Bull launched in Europe, many people thought it would fail. It was more expensive, the can was smaller, and the taste was unusual. By every traditional business rule, it should have lost. Instead, the opposite happened. This is where the real genius of Red Bull begins. The company never tried to look cheap. In fact, the higher price was part of the strategy. In some stores, Red Bull cost 2 or even 3 times more than Coca-Cola, despite coming in a smaller can. To many marketers, that sounded like business suicide. But the premium price worked. People began seeing the product as something special. Not as a soda, but as a functional drink with a purpose. If something costs more, people start asking questions. Why is it more expensive? What's so special about it? Why is everyone buying it? Little by little, Red Bull stopped being seen as a drink and became a symbol of energy, ambition, and performance. But pricing alone wasn't enough to build a global brand. Today, everyone talks about influencers. Red Bull was using a similar strategy before social media even existed. The company didn't rely on massive advertising campaigns. Instead, it went directly to its future audience: college campuses, nightclubs, sporting events. People received free cans. They tried the drink, they told their friends, and the brand spread almost like a virus. Mini Coopers with giant Red Bull cans on top became a familiar sight in college campuses, and Red Bull girls handed out free cans at parties, events, and universities. Instead of buying attention through television, Red Bull delivered the brand directly into people's hands. And soon, the company started doing something almost nobody expected:
Most beverage companies create products, advertise them, and sell them. Red Bull chose a different path. The company started buying sports teams, creating competitions, sponsoring athletes, launching its own projects. With every passing year, the brand looked less like an energy drink company
and more like a media company. Formula One, RB Leipzig, Red Bull Salzburg, air race, cliff diving, X-Fighters, and the list just kept growing. But none of this was really about sports. Every project was creating the same thing: attention. Millions of people consumed Red Bull content without even realizing they were watching marketing. Red Bull stopped buying audiences. Instead, it started building its own. And that's when everything changed. Then the company decided to attempt something most governments wouldn't even consider. In 2012, Red Bull launched Project Stratos. Felix Baumgartner climbed to an altitude of almost 39 kilometers above Earth. Then he jumped. The entire world watched live. Millions of viewers, record after record. And it looked more like a space mission than a marketing campaign. But that's exactly what it was, a marketing campaign. The project cost roughly $50 million, yet more than 8 million people watched the live stream simultaneously. At the time, it set a YouTube record. And the media exposure generated by the event was worth far more than the project itself. At that moment, something became obvious. Red Bull was no longer advertising a product. The brand itself had become the event. Remember the question from the beginning? What if the energy drink was never the company's main product? Now, the answer is clear. And there's one more detail most people have no idea about. Red Bull barely manufactures its own drinks. Production and bottling are outsourced. The company focuses on what matters most: the brand, the marketing, the content, and the audience. Red Bull never really competed with Coca-Cola, and it never really competed with Pepsi. It wasn't building a beverage. It was building a culture. Every can helped fund events, content, sports, stories, experiences, everything that kept people connected to the brand. That's why Red Bull isn't just another beverage company. The drink generates revenue, but the real value is created somewhere else: in attention, in emotion, in events, in stories. While other companies were buying ad space, Red Bull was buying attention. While other brands were searching for audiences, Red Bull was building its own. And that may be the real reason why it's much more than an energy drink today. It's one of the world's most powerful media brands that just happens to sell beverages. And the story of our next company will prove that Red Bull isn't the only brand making money in a way that isn't nearly as obvious as it seems.